Okay, Behold the Multiverse, Fading Hope. It's a hand that does things in the mirror. I'm assuming, considering the opponent mulligan before we kept 7, we're on the draw. Yes, that is how this works. Mono green, well, we have Hullbreaker Horror and Divide by Zero now, so our hand functions against mono green. That's nice. Definitely don't play Riverglide Pathway on blue. I need double red. Do you have any opinions on good Alchemy decks? Don't really play the format and saw it was the qualifier weekend format this month. Is it? Okay. In that case, I'm actually going to have to... I don't think I want Expressive Iteration here, weirdly enough. I'm going to have to put some effort into actually tuning up blue-black for the metagame. Of the decks I've played so far, blue-black has felt like, by a pretty wide margin, the best deck. I feel like, is it Control has a lot of potential to also be the best deck? I just don't have that as tuned up as blue-black currently. Blue-black feels better against a wider metagame, and Is it feels better against a Control mirror metagame, but I don't know if that's what the metagame looks like. I am assuming I'm supposed to play around main deck Snakeskin Veil here, which means Divide by Zeroing the Old Growth Troll at sorcery speed, which gives the opponent the opening to play a 4-mana Haster. But any of their 4-mana Haster things are about as much damage as Old Growth Troll is, so might as well just do Divide by Zero now. I guess I take Environmental Sciences here. None of the other cards are super useful yet when I've got to Behold the Multiverse anyway. Okay, Alrund's Epiphany is nice. Especially because I have the extra mana to foretell that this turn anyway. But a missing land drop is also nice. Us hitting Divide by Zero is nice. I don't need this... I do need this Haunted Ridge because I'm not casting Environmental Sciences anytime soon, because I'm foretelling Alrund's Epiphany this turn. So the Haunted Ridge gives me my 6th land for Alrund's Epiphany, which is important. Next turn, I can Environmental Sciences Divide by Zero if needs be. Yoji Shinobi, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. It took me a second to figure out how to pronounce G for some reason. Did they rebuff Alrund's Epiphany to reduce the mana cost again? No, and this is where it gets really confusing. This event is standard instead of alchemy, and the nerfs don't affect standard, they only affect alchemy. I'm sure that's not going to be a nightmare to keep track of for anyone. That is a lot of creatures. So let's go with Divide by Zero, the Old Growth Troll, Snatch a Mascot Exhibition because we might want more blockers, and then foretell this Alrund's Epiphany so that we can just get 4 chump blockers. That gives us a lot of opportunities to try to draw a land naturally to be able to play Hullbreaker Horror. Thank you, I'm new to Magic the Gathering. Well, welcome aboard. It's a pretty fun game, I think. I'm doing pretty good. We have not yet lost tonight, which is always kind of a nice perk that keeps things a little more entertaining. Although, I guess doing a lot of losing in a row is also pretty entertaining in a way. Okay, we're at 13. Opponent's got 2 big trample... Okay, well, we'll just draw the 7th land, and then this won't be very difficult at all, will it? 2 chump blockers for the non-tramplers, although I guess Werewolf Pack Leader does wind up trampling eventually. I don't really need these Alrund's Epiphanies. Hullbreaker Horror does a lot to win this matchup on its own. I think I just am going to trade it in for hopefully drawing a land, which we do, which is cool. But even if we didn't, just having more blockers here is kind of the ideal. Alright, so if possible, I think I want to not play Hullbreaker Horror until the end of turn, because they can use a fight spell to kill it. And if I untap with it, that's just so strong. But this is a lot of trample. So do I have to play Hullbreaker Horror here anyway? If I play Hullbreaker Horror, I kill Linwald Oddity, I kill Pack Leader. I don't get to kill Sculptor of Winter. If I just go chump chump, have 2 more chump blockers, I take 12 and go to 1? It's a little dangerous. I think I'm probably supposed to be willing to lose my Hullbreaker Horror to a fight spell here. I've been playing the jump in mode and I've been learning is this a 3-color deck. Yes, so this is a version of Is It Control, Blue-Red Control, which is a fairly popular deck in Standard, probably the most popular deck. This version plays black mostly for cards in the sideboard that are designed to help make the matchup against mono white a little easier. Hey Chris, is Xanathar at all playable? So, using the word playable always ends up in a kind of interesting spot, because there's a couple of different definitions of playable. I guess I do just still lose here to a fight spell, which means I was probably supposed to go to 1. I need to draw an untap land, essentially. Well, I can Mascot Exhibition, right? Soul Shatter. What does that do? So if Environmental Sciences, I go up to 7, and then I Hullbreaker Horror, block Gold, Old Growth Troll. Alternatively, if I Mascot Exhibition, I have 3 chump blockers. But so, in a competitive sense, playable typically means, is it correct to play this card over any other possible replacements? And in that sense, I don't think Xanathar is, like, terribly competitive. It costs a pretty big amount of mana for what it does. In the sense of, can you play that card and build a deck around it and have it be functional and win 50% of its games? Yes. I think Xanathar is powerful enough that it's not like you're playing with a draft card. Or, well, a draft common. It's just, it's hard to play sorcery speed control win conditions in a format where instant speed control win conditions are kind of the dominant force in the metagame, which is what's currently going on now. So Blade Mascot Exhibition, 4/4 in front of Troll, 2/1 in front of Sculptor, take 4, have a 2/2. I guess I can play Mascot Exhibition here, and it's slightly better than Hullbreaker Horror. Gives me the out if I draw an untap land, I can play Hullbreaker Horror plus Soul Shatter next turn, which it's hard to lose if I do that. Going to 1 loses to Snakeskin Veil. Oh, right, because I can Snakeskin Veil before damage, and we wouldn't have any way to interact with that. That's true. That's true. Am I supposed to throw away the Spirit here to be at 5? I think so. I think that plays around fight spells better in the future, if they top deck another Blizzard Brawl. Okay, Old Growth Troll makes a token. I definitely can't beat what's on board without drawing a land. I sort of can. I just can't beat a haste creature or a pump spell. So I have the option to try to Behold the Multiverse instead of Soul Shatter, or instead of Hullbreaker Horror here. which means if my opponent has nothing, I'm still not dead because I can Soul Shatter the Old Growth Troll. I'm just falling behind. If they have nothing, then Hullbreaker Horror pretty much wins. And I might lose to nothing if their draws are good if I go for the Soul Shatter line. But Behold the Multiverse finds Fading Hope or land plus Divide by 0. I got 3 Fading Hopes still in the deck. I think I'd rather go for the Behold the Multiverse line. Sedgemoor Witch. Ah, if that Spikefield Hazard was untapped, I could keep the Sedgemoor Witch. But as it stands, I don't think I can keep either of these. Sweet. Hit the land, hit Fading Hope. That's a good sign. I also get to foretell Behold the Multiverse, so I can play Hullbreaker Horror plus it next turn. I think that's a pretty good setup. I'm still in a little bit of trouble to Snakeskin Veil, in the sense that I can't actually beat Snakeskin Veil. I guess I sort of can beat Snakeskin Veil if I'm willing to take 4 damage here. Am I willing to? I think so. I think I'm actually willing to take that 4 damage. I also can't beat a haste creature. Okay, good start. Soul Shatter doesn't get countered by Snakeskin Veil, so their Old Growth Troll dies. If they try to go for lethal with Snakeskin Veil on their 4/4 token, then I get to resolve Fading Hope, unless both of their last cards are Snakeskin Veil, but I just can't beat that. Okay. Alright, down to 1. Three, 6, 7. Okay, so now I get to actually have Hullbreaker Horror plus 2 spells up. Oh, or just Hullbreaker Horror plus 2 Fading Hopes. Alright, alright. Alright, I think we can do this. Opponent makes a 4/4. You got it, opponent. Land is good. So I guess the best thing I can do is play Hullbreaker Horror after they declare attacks and then Fading Hope before we declare blocks. That way I get to bounce both the tokens, and if they Snakeskin Veil to save one of the tokens, I just get to block that token with Hullbreaker Horror. This works. Although, I guess, since they only have 1 card in hand, I can just Behold the Multiverse here and still have up Fading Hope. Because if their last card is a fight spell to kill the Hullbreaker Horror, I just Fading Hope at that point. So I might as well be mana efficient and use the Behold the Multiverse. So I got the Snakeskin Veil. I don't think that matters. Don't want land, but Divide by 0 seems fine. So we Fading Hope the Old Growth Troll. And bounce the other token, block the 5/5, Power Word Kill seems great. Alright, we have stabilized. This is a lot like chess, yeah. The pretty typical... what's the word I'm looking for? The pretty typical comparison is that it's a lot like chess plus poker, where it is chess, but there's some randomness involved because of the cards that you draw versus the cards that your opponents draw, and a bluffing element because you don't know what's in your opponent's hand. But definitely a lot of fun. Especially if you like thinking. If you like sitting around and thinking for 30 seconds about how many millions of combinations of cards your opponent could have and which ones you're supposed to play around. Ooh, how am I supposed to... No blueprint, I'm going to go with. Thanks for the sub. I appreciate the support. What do I think of the AFR class cards? Some of them are a lot of fun, and the buffed versions in Alchemy are neat. But outside of like the Bard class combo decks, I don't think I've seen any of them that are like super strong yet. Behold Over Deluge, yes, by quite a bit. It's very hard to spend 4 mana in the mirror match, because anytime you spend that much mana, you're creating an opening for your opponent to resolve an unexpected windfall. And the mana advantage from the treasures in the mirror match are just much stronger than the card selection of Deluge. And you absolutely never have the opportunity to tap out 7 mana to flash back Deluge, so the advantage just kind of doesn't exist. Combined with the fact that Behold the Multiverse gets to get copied with Galvanic Iteration and Deluge doesn't, it's kind of just... I don't think there's any reason a deck playing Unexpected Windfall wants to play Deluge, in my opinion. At least not when this many matchups are mirror matchups. Also, we're playing against a mirror, and I should probably sideboard. Let's bring in Lear and some Sedgemoor Witches. I never know how many, but definitely some. Then we can trim Behold the Multiverse, and... I don't know, more Behold the Multiverses? Sure, why not? I feel like there's something else I'm supposed to cut, but I forget what it is. Ranger class is meta. Yeah, that's true. Ranger class is just super excellent. I forget that's actually part of the cycle because it's so much better than all the other classes that I just... my brain does not think of it as a class anymore. We're on the draw. Cinderclasm is only really good if we find Galvanic Iteration. We do have the ability to foretell Alrund's Epiphany on 2. I think this just isn't impactful enough, and I gotta ship it. This is the same hand, but worse, so we're in trouble. But mono green is definitely the matchup I'm scared of. It is not what this deck is built to beat, and if I was to go about updating it, it's probably the matchup I would most change this deck to attempt to get some points against. Alright, Divide by Zero is not bad. We're going to play Clearwater Pathway to represent Jwari Disruption here. Hope the opponent doesn't jam a 3-drop into it. Sweet. Opponent did sort of play around the Jwari Disruption. Okay. Sedgemoor Witch typically buys a lot of time against mono green. Not holding up Divide by Zero kind of hurts. But, alright, Sedgemoor Witch it is, and we hope they don't have a fight spell. But I don't think that I'm likely to win this match without playing Sedgemoor Witch on 3 here. Even if I hold up Divide by Zero and curve that out and then play Unexpected Windfall, I just don't have terribly good recovery tools against mono green. Yeah, so this is the Ranger class. This is the class card that is actually very, very good. Mono green got a couple of other cards that are also very good, so it's been slightly less played. It's kind of a long-term value card, and a lot of matchups right now don't get decided by that. Izzet tends to end the game one way or the other, kind of before Ranger class's 3rd mode comes online. But Ranger class is really good when it comes to mono green mirror matches that can often come down to card advantage wars. I think we're just willing to take this. I don't like taking that much damage, but we are willing to do it. Oh, so how badly do I need to play around Snakeskin Veil here? I can divide by 0 Pack Leader, probably? Except Pack Leader is really good chump block with Sedgemoor Witch tokens. Divide by 0 the Ulvenwald Oddity hurts because they get to replay it as a hasty threat immediately. But if they have another 4-mana haster, then bouncing Sedgemoor Witch just accomplishes a lot less. I could not play Divide by 0 at all, just play Unexpected Windfall and see what happens. If I had a Fading Hope, I would probably do that, because then that would set up for Leer into Fading Hope. I guess I could draw into Fading Hope. Is that just what I'm supposed to do? Divide by 0 doesn't give me a lot of ways that I can actually win, is the problem. Chump. Yeah, I think I kind of have to go for broke here. I think that means Unexpected Windfall. I think I want to keep this Alrund's Epiphany. I'm kind of just banking on Unexpected Windfall hitting a cheap spell. Spikefield Hazard is a cheap spell. It's the worst one, but it is a cheap spell. Which means that I get to make a Sedgemoor Witch token. So if I don't end up needing to use this Spikefield Hazard... Oh, wait. As long as they attack with everything, I have to. Which means I'm not going to get to cast Alrund's Epiphany next turn. But I might get to play Leer into Spikefield Hazard, which is not as good as Fading Hope at all. But... Oddity hurts. Okay. How do we get through this one, team? Sedgemoor Witch on Pack Leader, Spikefield the 2/2, Chump Block the 2/2, put a 1/1 in front of Ulvenwald Oddity, go to 3. It's just no way I can live through this without using Spikefield Hazard, right? Yeah. And since I can't cast the Alrund's Epiphany without that treasure, I'm just in a lot of trouble overall. I have to block with Sedgemoor Witch to live, because otherwise I die before the life gain triggers go off. And I'm still dead. Well, I was always dead to Snakeskin Veil, I guess. What can I draw into here? I don't... Well, Expressive Iteration, maybe, if it hits, like, 2 bounce spells? No, that doesn't work. Because I can just replay Ulvenwald Oddity. No, I think I just die. There's that Fading Hope. Needed that earlier. So Unexpected Windfall, do anything. We could do 2 Fading Hopes. I guess I can play around them not activating Faceless Haven for whatever reason. Well, when your only out is the opponent misplaying, see if the opponent misplays. I also need to draw another Fading Hope as well. Okay, now I can't even beat the opponent attacking with the onboard creatures, and I'm willing to believe that they will attack with the onboard creatures. Okay, so what? Is there a world where on the play I'm supposed to play a Sedgemoor Witch over an Alrund's Epiphany? Or over a Cinderclasm? I'm willing to believe that I should play the 4th Witch over a Cinderclasm. I don't know whether that's actually better on the play or on the draw, but How do you play to your outs if the only out is the opponent misplaying? I mean, as a general rule, when it comes to Magic theory, your objective should not be to try to make plays that are like super likely to win you the game, because those are usually the easiest plays to see most of the time. Your objective should be to figure out how to find things that make you 1% likely to win when otherwise you're 0% likely to win. And so, like, the difference between a good player, or, well, a decent player and a professional player is that the decent player is going to win 55% of the time and the professional player is going to win 65% of the time. So all you got to do, theoretically, is find, like, 10 things to do that give you 1% edges where otherwise you would have a 0% edge. And if you do those consistently, you're a professional player now. That's almost how it works. This hand's pretty bad, but I don't want a mulligan, so we're going to keep it. And if 1% of the time, if 1 out of 100 games, your opponent makes a really weird throw, then playing around them making that really weird throw is going to improve your win percentage by 1%. Suddenly, I'm actually really sad that I don't have that Cinderclasm, because this is the first time my opponent's ever played this pack leader. Alright, I would like a black source, please. I can't actually keep that blue source with this hand. Okay. Sedgemoor Witch, no spells. That's the secret. Am I willing to trade with this Ascendant pack leader? I can trade with it next turn. I think I play around the possibility that I draw like a Spikefield Hazard or something by not trading here. Old Growth Troll, not surprising. Land, well, it could be worse. Alright, probably should have attacked with Sedgemoor Witch there, I guess. I guess I'm representing having a 1-mana spell by not attacking with Sedgemoor Witch, which maybe makes them play more cautiously. Like, they don't want to run an Ascendant pack leader out here without playing a 4-drop beforehand. So, yeah. I was hoping that they would be afraid to do this because they don't play around Fading Hope at all. But yeah, I can't actually punish that. Oh, I can double block Wolvenwald Oddity, take 7, go to 9, then play Leer. No, I kind of just have to block the pack leader. Take 8. So if I do this and then play Leer, they animate Faceless Haven. I have to trade off my Leer to not die. It's not really acceptable. But I think taking 1 more damage here and having a Sedgemoor Witch in play gives me better outs to, like, drawing Divide by 0. Because they can animate the Faceless Haven and attack. Expressive Iteration. Okay, that's not Divide by 0, but it is good. Okay. These are hands. Or, well, cards. Unfortunately, because of the Blightstep Pathway, I can't play any 2 of these in 1 turn. Which kind of hurts. Galvanic Iteration plus Fading Hope here would actually be sort of totally amazing. And I don't have a 6th land to go Leer plus Fading Hope next turn either. So what do I do? Do I put Fading Hope in hand and just play a Sedgemoor Witch? That seems extremely bad. Do I put Sedgemoor Witch in hand and just play the Fading Hope? I think that's the best I can do. Maybe I play the Galvanic Iteration. But I think having the Sedgemoor Witch is probably better than having the Galvanic Iteration when I'm this low on mana. Okay, we do know that we have another red source coming, which is actually nice to know. It lets me safely play this Riverglide pathway on red. No attacks. I want to double block that Illuminal Oddity. Actually, I want to triple block it. So now I can Leer plus hold up Fading Hope. I guess, depending on how my opponent blocks, I could choose to just take 4 from Oddity, so that I have the Sedgemoor Witch sticking around to keep making more tokens. Is that what I want to do? That might be what I want to do. I think that's what I want to do. The alternative is I put all 4 on the Oddity. I lose everything. I go to 10. I think if I go to 4 with the Oddity and they just play Old Growth Troll, that's such a weird spot for me, especially, or even if they just like play Werewolf Pack Leader and then have any kind of Snakeskin Veil for the Fading Hope. I'm in so much trouble being at that low life total. I think I'd rather go to 10. It's hard for the opponent to kill me from there. I'm definitely supposed to Fading Hope this Old Growth Troll now while they're tapped out of Snakeskin Veil. Unexpected Windfall. How does that compare? I think that's worse than trying to find a 7th land for Hullbreaker Horror. Okay, find another green source. Now a lot more things can line up with Snakeskin Veil. Chariot, I don't think I'm worried about because it doesn't actually have Trample. 7th land, so I can play Hullbreaker Horror here. I'm also not in danger of dying this turn. Or, I'm not necessarily in danger of dying. So I essentially have 2 options. I can play the Sedgemoor Witch into Expressive Iteration and just have a ton of chump blockers for Asika's Chariot. Or I can try to just play Hullbreaker Horror out. But I feel like with the opponent having Asika's Chariot in play, there's too much likelihood it'll be easy for them to kill Leer. All they need is a fight spell plus Snakeskin Veil. I think Sedgemoor Witch into Expressive Iteration holding up Fading Hope is a little better than the Hullbreaker Horror. Because if the Leer dies, I don't have a lot of things to trigger the Hullbreaker Horror with. Okay, we got good cards. We have a lot of good cards, actually. I could just choose not to take the 8th land. I think I'm just choosing not to take the 8th land here. Which would mean Infernal Grasping a 2/2, which I guess I'm actually not crazy excited about that. So I could lose the Galvanic Iteration, even though that's very good with Sedgemoor Witch. No, I guess I could just lose the Infernal Grasp, couldn't I? Isn't that fine? Alright, you know what? Let's just... Infernal Grasping a 2/2 doesn't feel good. But I could just take Galvanic Iteration in a land and try to draw into something to use the Galvanic Iteration with? I mean, I've got enough chump blockers. I'm not going to die here. We can lose the Infernal Grasp. Galvanic Iteration in particular is really powerful with Sedgemoor Witch, because of the way Magecraft works. It's not quite whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, which means Galvanic Iteration stacks in a weird way. It kind of makes 2 pest tokens every time you cast Galvanic Iteration. Feel like grasping a 2/2 there is the first step in the scenario where you manage to lose here. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's the same thing. I wanted to get 2 cards out of that Expressive Iteration, but I couldn't see any way to tap out there that wasn't probably too much of an opening that I don't need to give them. I don't want to cast this Fading Hope at all this turn, because I want to have it available to bounce something with Hullbreaker Horror next turn. But, yeah, because see, if the opponent attacks like this, then I just get to chump block the 4/4 and block the 2/2. And that's just not scary, because the Seeker's Chariot doesn't have trample. My opponent does have a very big board here, but I think I just don't care. Sedgemoor Witch is so good when green gets board states that don't have trample. Huh. Well, I can clear my opponent's entire board and make like 30 blockers. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do. Maybe not. I can make 3 copies of Fading Hope. I don't even know how many Sedgemoor Witch tokens that gives me. Makes more than 2 if you're double iterating. Right. I don't actually know what the math is on how many copies of Magecraft multiple Galvanic Iterations trigger, to be honest. I imagine it's actually kind of a complicated formula, isn't it? Okay, well, I don't think I'm playing Hullbreaker Horror. Maybe I am. It depends on what the opponent attacks with. If they attack in a way that I can get away with blocking and just not have to play against lethal, then maybe I play Hullbreaker Horror and save up all the Galvanic Iterations for after Horror is in play. Have they already played a land this turn? Yes, they played the Mammoth. Which means if I play Hullbreaker Horror, I'm guaranteed to resolve Fading Hope on whatever they try to play a fight spell with. So I can safely block Asika's Chariot here. Well, yes. Because they can only ever do 1 mana worth of stuff. Scary is... What would be scary is if they play a Snakeskin Veil and a Blizzard Brawl. But they cannot do that. So I guess I can just let this Asika's Chariot hit me? Or I could use the Fading Hope now and not block anything with Hullbreaker Horror? If I Fading Hope the Asika's Chariot, I guess I can actually block something with Hullbreaker Horror, because they can't do more than 3 damage to it with a Blizzard Brawl. Okay. Yeah, I think this works. Then we return the Chariot. I don't have the Fading Hope on future turns to deal with a fight spell on Lear. Maybe that's meaningful. If they have a Snakeskin Veil here, that's fine, because I'm making the 1/1 block it. Another Lear. I don't think I want that. I don't have enough stuff in my graveyard right now to make that worthwhile. And now, because they tapped out for the Snakeskin Veil, I can safely block with Lear. They can't fight spell me post-combat. So all I have is 2 Galvanic Iterations, but that's a lot. Huh. Okay, so I can Galvanic Iteration, Unexpected Windfall, and still have Galvanic Iteration in the graveyard? That's probably really good, and I think I want to do that. We're going to bounce the Asika's Chariot because we've got a billion counters on it. Oh, okay, they're done. I can double Iteration because the Leer giving the Galvanic Iteration flashback means I can cast it from my graveyard for 2. And then I Unexpected Windfall, discarding the Galvanic Iteration in my hand. But you're right that I can't cast both Galvanic Iterations from my hand into Windfall, because then I wouldn't have a card to discard to Unexpected Windfall.